MPL is the home of measurement science in the UK. We are home to the main measurement standards that are the fundamental basis of traceability of measurement science, which is integral to many things that we do as nations and people. So metrology is coined as measurement science, and what you find that is disseminated around the world by a series of organisations, national metrology institutes, of which MPL is the UK's, and designated institutes. So our role, owned by government, is to be home and disseminate the measurement standards that support the UK's prosperity and quality of life. The key and fundamental responsibilities we have in this area is to support the confidence in data. So we have a very broad and varied portfolio of capability at MPL. And what we do with that is apply it in the real world, outside of our laboratories, to make sure that it's useful to the national challenges in terms of the UK and challenges facing humanity and the wider scale, which is obviously climate change. So how we do that is it's a range of areas that we apply it. For example, traceability and data of satellite measurements, emissions measurements, or supporting measurement science in aid of decarbonisation of transport, and work with a varied group of partners in terms of their measurement challenges that they face in industry or government or academia to solve their path forward. The role of MPL is a mix of our fundamental and core scientific responsibility of measurement science, but we also have a responsibility to make that useful and coherent to those who aren't metrology experts and specialists. So what we find is we have a brilliant staff of scientists and engineers of around 800, I think, at the moment. And we also have supporting teams of strategy development, policy, engagement, government relations, who are our connection and consolidate our offering of measurement science in terms of application. So we talk on a regular basis to government about what their view of measurement needs are for us, to industry about the measurement challenges they face that we can support on, and regulators in terms of their enforcement of infrastructure, for example. In terms of measuring emissions and how we apply MPL's measurement science expertise, there's a varied number of roles that we take in this area. We hold primary reference standards that are used to enforce regulators' standards, and we also have brilliant teams who support industry, oil and gas otherwise, in terms of locating and addressing action plans for their emission sources. So we have a world-class research facility called the Dial Truck, Differential Absorption LiDAR, that we do site and campaign activities that identify leaks and then allows organisations to implement action plans. So that's just a small sample. And in terms of policy, what we do is we aren't a policy organisation, we are owned by government, but our responsibility is to provide quality or support provision of quality data, and that is an ongoing mission that will take us into the next century, I'm sure. For example, with the new materials that are being brought in for use in renewables, for example, MPL helps organisations, perhaps such as Net Zero Technology Centre or others, to research and characterise new materials for use in this marine environment. So new materials coming through, selection criteria perhaps is they're lighter, more corrosion resistant, but it's still important for us to, as people, to identify their characteristics and behaviours in terms of environmental degradation. So what we do is through a range of tests at MPL and environments, we help characterise their performance in this environment, which then in turn allows the organisations to implement with confidence and also plan maintenance and operational activities around this. So ultimately what it leads to, we believe and hope, is that implementation is delivered at a cheaper rate and with higher confidence, so taking us along that journey. Measurement challenges that apply to the smart electricity grid. Areas that MPL works in here is for grid optimization, and then if we look, for example, into battery technologies, we're doing a lot of work with companies in this area to characterize reuse of batteries and to bring them back through the recycling, because obviously there is a big issue around materials for batteries. So just some examples. Metrology skills are quite varied and the areas that support it. So I know the Net Zero Technology Centre and your partners will have a specific view of the measurement science needed, but metrology as we require it worldwide is a very, very broad-ranging discipline. And we might traditionally and easily fall into talking about science and engineering, but from policy engagement to project management and from commercial operations to strategy, which is my role, in the context of metrology is a really, really broad area full of opportunity. And so one of the things that we at MPL and many of our organisations that we work with are very keen on is enforcing that this is a range of opportunities with diversity at the heart of what we need to do to move forward as a core of collective action.